back. The TARDIS has safely materialized after a brief breakaway. The universe is safe for now, and Beyond the TARDIS has returned for a brand new special episode celebrating 20 years of the revival of the universe's longest running sci-fi show, Doctor Who. In 2025, it has been 20 years, can you believe it, since the show returned after a long breakaway and in what has been lovingly been dubbed the New Who era. From the very beginning, with Autons breaking out of the shopping centre basements in Rose, with the Ninth Doctor, the 10th Doctor's ultimate showdown with two of their oldest foes and at the Battle of Canary Wharf, the 11th Doctor's obsession with fish fingers and custard, the 50th anniversary revelations of that there are more incarnations of the Doctor that we didn't previously know of, the 12th Doctor reuniting with his first, at the time, regeneration in his finale, the 13th Doctor's amazing adventures, including the return of the Master in Spyfall, an amazing two-parter. This is a very long introduction, I'll just edit this out, but it's like the return of a familiar face, well, too, in the 60th anniversary and specials. And we'll explore the reason why people keep dreaming of being an ambulance with the 15th Doctor as well. Now, there's always a twist and an end, but this twist is at the beginning because let's introduce my cosmic guests for this special episode. My first guest is Lou, who's a massive fan of the show and loves the 11th Doctor, and is a Amy Pond and 11th Doctor cosplayer as well. And also, I'm joined by David, who is a fantastic cosplayer, cosplaying 10th and 14th Doctors from the show. And welcome to the podcast. Lou, please can you start first? Please can you introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Lou. I started, well, I'm not really in the cosplay scene anymore, but I did start cosplaying in 2021, predominantly Amy Pond. Moved over to some 11th Doctor ones. Um, Other things about me. I sing, I draw, I crochet. Uh, and yeah, that's about it really.
Thank you. Thank you so much for coming on the podcast, Lou. David, please can you introduce yourself as well?
Yes, hello everybody. Hello. James, I want to first start by saying thank you ever so much for the invite to this lovely podcast. I am very, very honored to be here. For people who obviously know me, I am the Hyper Monkey. I am on various social medias, and I have been a prominent cosplayer for about, I'd say, 5, maybe 6 years now. I have cosplayed a variety of characters, but I'd always say my favorites are definitely my Doctor Who 10th and 14th. I can never get enough of them. You'll find me in many places doing sort of cosplay related hobbies because I just enjoy them. They're a lot of fun. And I'm happy to be here. Happy to meet you both. And Alonzi, let's do this.
That was brilliant, David. Thank you both of you, and you're more than welcome. I'm happy you're like one of the first people I thought of when I wanted to do this special episode celebrating 20 years of New Who. We will get on to the New Who era and the Disney era as well. But firstly, let's go back to your own sort of personal connection with Doctor Who. And what is your earliest memory of Doctor Who? And David, I'll let you go first on this one.
Oh, so for me, obviously, as a David Tennant cosplayer, my actual memory of Doctor Who didn't technically start with David Tennant. It started, funnily enough, with Christopher Eccleston. I used to constantly sit down late in the evenings in the living room. It would be the show that would be on pretty much before my bedtime. This is how long ago this was. And I'd be constantly sort of waiting and going, can I make this last longer? I'd hear the end credits, and it was sad times because that meant obviously I had to go to bed. It was time for school the next day, but it was like my comfort show late at night, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So yeah, Christopher Eccleston, I'd say, is where my Doctor Who journey began.
What a very good jumping on point of the show because I felt like that's actually not everyone has watched or has watched the classic era of the show because obviously there was all that long gap where it was away. So I think a lot of people's first introduction to the Doctor and as we now know it, the Whoniverse is with Christopher Eccleston and Billy Piper way back in 2005. Lou,
Yeah,
what about you?
mad. That was 20 years ago.
I know it makes me feel old. What
Um,
is your
so
earliest?
Mine actually was David Tennant. But I don't have very many memories still from being a child, but I do have kind of a collective memory of going to my gramps' house every Saturday. We'd have Chinese, we'd sit down, we'd watch Doctor Who. And then I'd have like a chalk ice after a Magnum chalk ice. And yeah, I think the first one was like David Tennant's introduction, and like the episode where he got his hand cut off and everything, and he was fighting in pajamas. Um, yeah, I think that is my early memory. But then obviously, the ones I remember the most are the Matt Smith ones because I think I was older and I have more memories still in my brain from that. So
Oh, they're
yes.
both brilliant eras, and it's good that there is such a contrast, although separated by a year, but the points are completely good. So by the sounds of I'm not sure if you sort of had exposure to like the classic Doctor Who era. So I'm going to essentially treat it potentially as like in back in 2005 that you were just introduced to the show sort of fresh. So let's go back all the way back to 2005 and say all the way back and 20 years and the reveal of Christopher Eccleston, the first trailer of Christopher Eccleston and Billy Piper with that teaser trailer of them running through the corridor with explosions with their speeches. If you can remember, what did you feel when you saw the trailer that it was finally coming back, or to you that it was your first time in the first trip in the TARDIS with the show?
I feel like David has to answer this because obviously I don't have a very good memory of it.
That's okay.
But yeah.
I love that. It's basically, this is your question. Here you go.
That's your question, dude.
Um, for me, obviously, yes, it was my very, very first encounter with a man in a giant police box traveling the universe kind of thing. And it was a whole new experience for me. And I'd say I felt a bit of sort of apprehensiveness because
Yeah.
I didn't quite know what to expect. And I'd say I still do that now with many of the new episodes we've seen, especially the recent of the 60th anniversary and the obviously Christmas specials, all the bits that have happened in the last year or so. There's always a level of apprehension, excuse me, as I sometimes don't know what to expect.
Yeah.
And that for me provides that big level of excitement, but at the same time, it doesn't get your hopes up too high that you sort of go, I'm left disappointed, which I definitely was not seeing that trailer. That really sort of hooked me in and went, what's this show going to be about? So I was really, really pleased to see it, but it did have some apprehension to it, I must admit.
I think that's a brilliant answer. I completely understand where you're coming from. I did have some slight exposure to classic Who, so I wasn't going to sort of fresh, just because I'm not over 60 years old, but
I promise you're not over 60 years old, James. I
thank you.
promise you're not. You are a budding young man in his late 20s at most.
That's not even true, but thank you. I'm definitely in my 30s. You can stay, David.
Yay!
But yeah, when I grew up, like my mom and dad, like they grew up from the beginning, like back in 1963. They watched it when the first episode way back, and then I just feel like I've aged my parents, but that's okay. Um, um,
I'm
but
sure they'll let you off.
I'm sure they'll be fine. I'm doing it for a good reason. But yeah, we had old videos lying around the house, and I remember watching them like with my mum and my dad growing up. So I knew of the Doctor. Obviously, way back then there was not as many videos like with all the missing episodes and things about. So I didn't know it wasn't a cohesive and connected Doctor Who exposure that I had. But I know I remember like when I was at school. Guess I was at school back in 2005, and the trailer came. I was so excited because it was like my comfort show. It still is my comfort show. Watching it, and it just allows like the ultimate form of escapism because you don't know where you're going, where and when, like from one episode to the next.
I can actually really relate to that, actually. So I'd say that's also a very good answer.
Mm.
Thank
Oh,
you
that,
both. What so like we talked about your favorite doctors. So Lou, I'll start with you first. Why do you have a powerful connection with 11 in general, being your favorite doctor?
I always love this question. I had this question on Mason's podcast too. My connection with my favorite doctor is because he's very, as I said to you before the podcast, Matt Smith's doctor is my spirit animal. And
Absolutely.
he's so bubbly and hyperactive, but he's also got a really soft emotional side, and he's got an angry side as well. And it just kind of is my parallel. And it made me feel okay with being myself.
Yeah.
And like being weird. And it's kind of helped me grow up to accept that as well. So it's something I hold on to very dearly. And also just because of the era and like the magical fairy tale element, I'm a sucker for a fairy tale story. And
oh,
the theme that they had, I loved it so much. So yeah, that's why.
Oh, that's such a
mm.
beautifully worded answer. No, that's really lovely. What a brilliant connection. How about you, David? Your favorite doctor is, I'm guessing, well, your favorite actor is David Tennant, but I'm guessing is 10 or 14 your favorite doctor, and why do you have a connection with them?
Oh, see, I must admit, I can't really follow that perfect answer from Lou there because um, mine is, I'd say, a lot more simpler. It is, I know I'm dressed as the 14th at the moment, but it is the 10th for me. Um, and strangely enough, it's because of David Tennant's voice.
Really?
The way he used to use his voice as a range of his acting skill back in early days, and then as the season went through, we saw more of him. The range of emotions and the range of acting that required his voice to change. I sort of went, I could do something like that as an aspiring actor at the time.
Yeah.
And I lent very heavily on that. I kept watching it and trying to replicate it myself. I didn't have as much success as he did, but for me, I couldn't help but listen to him and go, that's somebody who I could follow in like an episode if I was in one. God, that'd be brilliant. But, you know,
One day, you
I
never know.
could listen to his voice and just go without any questions.
Wow, that's a brilliant, brilliant answer. Like, it's good, especially as an aspiring actor, that you tried to replicate and you were inspired by him. No, that's two amazingly and brilliantly worded answers. And like, not, yeah, especially like your own different reasons for connecting with your favorite Doctor and the show in general. I'm trying to think, who is my favorite Doctor? I do love Tennant. I know everyone says they love Tennant, but it's just something about. I mean, I'm really
Another vote
enjoying.
for Tennant.
I mean, I've got a few favorite Doctors, but David Tennant is my favorite actor, without a doubt. Like from Casanova to Jessica Jones, like and Good Omens and all the other things he's been in. There's just something about David Tennant's era that I really like. That it was the first era to bring together the Cybermen and the Daleks in one episode, which was amazing. It was there was so many different range of emotions from the sort of grieving Doctor in a way to he was the one who sort of acknowledged the time war to also the fun happy moments as well, like with Donna. I mean, also have
Oh, Donna. I love Donna.
and like her two-part at the time finale as well with like the Medusa Cascade and the Daleks and bringing all the companions together. It sort of felt like a very cohesive era. So I mean, mine's just like, oh, look at all these fun little aliens and companions. Just that's my. It's not an emotional. It is, but it is because of my autism. Like, I really connect with the show, and especially with David Tennant's series as well. Like, I really, really loved the adventure and whimsy of that era.
Oh, that's brilliant.
He's just very versatile,
He
I
is.
think.
I completely
Yes, yeah,
agree.
I'd agree.
Like,
Oh, right. My last.
so, do you want to do the next question? I'm going to skip that question for now, but.
Okay.
Do you have
Okay.
a favorite episode of Doctor Who, and why is your favorite episode? And I'm going to go with David first on that one.
That gives me more
Uh,
time.
I was kind of hoping for that because I must admit I actually have two, and I've been ever since the idea of this podcast was given to me, and I read the questions. This has been one of the toughest ones to really put ahead.
Yeah.
So I'm going to have to answer technically with two questions. I do hope that's okay. I was saying with two answers, sorry. So my second favorite episode has to be Blink, season 3, episode, I think it's like 10, 11.
Yep.
I'm really testing my knowledge now. And it holds something for me because I will admit something on this podcast I don't usually admit to anybody. I
The
do
Weeping
not
Angel.
like the Weeping Angels. They scared the crap out of me as a kid. I hated them. And the only reason it sticks in my head is because I can just always look back to the fact that me as a kid there with my hands over my eyes every time I saw them on screen was an experience I will just, I think, never get rid of. But I will not take it away. And I do believe this episode is actually ranked in one of David Tennant's best episodes ever, which is Midnight from the following season, so season 4.
That's a good choice.
And for me, it kind of goes back to my answer of why I connect with him so much. In this episode, for me, we saw that range of his voice talent I was talking about. The range of emotions he went through in this episode was, I don't think I've seen him replicate it ever since in any of his appearances as the Doctor. And it just holds that little bit of, that is that man. The reason I love him. Obviously, I love his accent. I love the way he is able to just take charge of my screen and go, like, buckle in. This is going to be a ride and a half of your life. It's obviously, it is a very emotional episode as well, but it's just the raw feeling for him as his voice comes through the speakers of my television at that time makes it my best episode.
That is such a brilliant answer, and two brilliant, quite different episodes as well. With the Weeping Angels in Blink, where it was a very Dr. Light episode, and the brilliant performance of, I forgot her name. Oh God, uh, I know the actor, I know the character's name. It begins with a C. The person who plays Sally Sparrow.
Carrie somebody, isn't it? Carrie Mulligan.
That's the one, Carrie Mulligan. Her fantastic
Mulligan.
when she was a relatively unknown actor at the time, but because I think of that particular episode, like it's just launched her to amazing roles on stage and on screen. And Blink as well, again, was a very unique episode. It was one of those rare episodes where it's just one location, the Doctor, and sort of a faceless, nameless, shapeless monster, and it's a sort of like the fear of fear itself. It is such a powerful, two very powerful episodes. So thank you for sharing that. Lou, what about you? What is your favorite episode and why? Or favorite episode?
People aren't going to like my answer because it's controversial at the moment, and I don't support Neil Gaiman in the slightest. But the one with the Doctor's wife, the Tardis as a woman, I feel like that was just really. It was It was a really good one. It was really wholesome for him to actually have a conversation with the TARDIS that he loves so dearly. It put Rory and Amy's relationship to the test, and like it, I hate to swear, but it scared the shit out of both of them on both ends. And it was just it was such a really magical episode, and like visually I enjoyed it as well. Like having the I can't even remember her name, the actress that played
Saran Jones.
Yeah. And have you done this again? This is the last time I went on the podcast with you. You had the Weeping Angel right behind you, and I felt the need to not blink.
Yeah, I was gonna say, please don't do that. I will literally cry.
But I've got I think I've got a few a few standout episodes as well.
Yeah.
So like I the same as you, David. Like the Weeping Angels used to scare me like crazy, and Blink
They're
is another good
horrible. I'm
one.
sorry. I hate
Yeah,
them.
Blink is a good
They're
one.
very creepy.
You know, like the one. I'm not good at episode names. I'm not good at names of
That's
things. But
okay.
the one with the Weeping Angels and Amy Pond as well, and like how she was like
Angels of
rubbing her
Manhattan.
head and like slowly
Yeah,
turning into
I know the one.
a Weeping Angel herself. Journey's
Oh,
End is another good one for me because it's like a lovely collective family time of all the
Oh,
yeah.
companions together, even though they're like being kept by the Daleks and stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah. There's a few other ones that I really enjoyed as well. Um, there's a few Jodie Whittaker ones that I really liked, like the um the witch hunt one,
Oh, I
I
know what you
think.
mean. Yeah, the witch
Yeah,
hunt.
ooh,
yeah.
yeah.
I like stuff about witches and stuff as well. Um and also the 60th anniversary ones were just really fun. They had a huge
I never
variety.
even spoke about that. I forgot completely about the 60th
It's
anniversary
okay.
because that was brilliant. I loved all of them, but never mind.
Such variety. It was amazing. It was so good. Um yeah, I'll shut up now because I'll be talking
That's okay.
about all of the ones that I like all day. Uh
Can do if you want.
There's nothing wrong with that.
No.
Trust me, there is nothing wrong with that.
I know I was showing my boyfriend the 60th anniversary ones because he's never seen them before. And I was
I
just
need to
looking at him the whole
educate
time
him.
like, look, look, it's them.
That's brilliant. Look, come here. You must pay attention.
I will be talking to him about Doctor Who when I
Well,
do meet
yeah,
him.
I'm really excited for you to do that.
Oh, that again, both brilliant episodes and both brilliantly contrasted to one another. Not like that's what I love about Doctor Who, the variety. You can never say one episode is like another. You can never compare storylines in great detail. I mean, I agree with all of your episodes. Like they're all brilliant choices. And for me, my favorite episodes, I'm greedy, not selfish. I'm greedy. I sort of choose one from each era or many from each era. So from ninth era, I loved the Slitheen episodes because that was so silly, but I think the Slitheen need to make a comeback.
Ooh,
Um, from again, I'm terrible with episodes. From the 10th era, there were so many good ones. I loved the return of Sarah Jane. In School Reunion, I
yeah.
loved um I've forgotten the name. Parting of the Ways, I loved. I loved Doomsday as well. There's so many with David Tennant here. Again, I could be here all day, but 11th as well had some brilliant, powerful. Angels in Manhattan was amazing. The
Oh, it makes me cry.
it's emotional, but it's very emotional, but it's a brilliantly written and shot episode. The 50th anniversary of Matt as well, with John Hurt and David Tennant in. That's such a was a brilliant way of bringing all the eras together and
Yeah.
coming to terms with like sort of a closure in a way of the Time War era of the show, and bringing Gallifrey back as well. 12th, I'm going to say something controversial here. Peter Capaldi, amazing Doctor. 12th Doctor is not my favorite Doctor. However, towards the end of his era, I loved his episodes more because I felt like he truly became the Doctor then instead of an angry Doctor, which for me personally, just my opinion, I know people absolutely love him, and it's not against the actor. For me, it's not my favorite era of the show, but I do love Peter Capaldi as an actor. Towards the end with his final episodes with Bill, I think Bill should have had more episodes. I'm not gonna lie. I think she was a brilliant companion. Yeah.
Mm.
And I loved his sort of the closure of the River Song arc to a point as well. Like that was so
Yeah.
sad and emotional too with Peter Capaldi, and I think he was the right Doctor to bring that companion story to a close for now.
Yeah. No, I
And
can
Missy
agree
as
with that.
well. Missy, oh, I love Missy as a master. Michelle Gomez, what an absolutely amazing actor. I love those stories. 13, Jodie. I love Jodie as a doctor. I love the companions. Again, I love Sacha Dhawan as a master. I think he was fantastic. Like his pure. Well, Missy had a redemption arc towards the end. Sasha's sort of didn't and was like the crazy master again, but also fused the classic Ear of the Master. I feel like I'm rambling now, but the classic Ear of the Master with the modern incarnations we've seen. And the 60th anniversary special. I loved Neil Patrick Harris. I love the toy maker, bringing him back. I love that. My favorite of the three, although I enjoyed all of them. And
Sorry.
Shooty is just absolutely amazing. Although we had no classic monsters apart from Sutek. I liked them. There were some episodes I preferred than others, and I loved Millie Gibson as Ruby as well. And I like that Unit got more of a sort of were more featured as well. I do apologize for rambling, but
That's all right. No worries.
so talking about companions, I briefly talked about it. So we've had a lot of companions in the new Doctor Who era, new Who era of Doctor Who, from starting off with Rose in the department store to Martha Jones in the Doctor, then Torchwood and Unit employee, right the way through to I'm going about to name her Donna Noble. We had Amy Pond,
Good old Donna.
Rory Williams, Clara in her many incarnations. I'm struggling to remember them. This is bad. We also had Bill. We had Graham, Yaz, and oh God, Ryan as well, and Ruby. And of course, with the recent announcement that the series is due to come back in April, we have Belinda as well. So, what makes a good companion to the Doctor, and who is your favourite, and why? We'll go with Lou first.
Oh, good, because I haven't had the answer for this one yet.
I have a favourite. I don't particularly think she's. Lots of people see her as a good companion.
That's okay.
I can tell you who I think is a good companion,
Go on.
but he's not my favourite. So
That's okay.
they're
Do that.
simultaneous. Rory's a very good companion because he actually questions everything, and he thinks
Yep.
with his heart, but he also thinks with his brain because he questions everything. So like he'll do anything for Amy, but he'll look at the Doctor and be like, "Bro, what the fuck are you doing? Why are you doing this?"
True.
But like also, I just love Amy because obviously she's like this fairy tale story started with her as a child and then it evolved into something else, and she's just so sassy and so brave, and I just love her. And like she I don't know, she came around full circle in the end by like with her relationship with Rory and stuff. But I understand why there are people who don't like her because of like, everyone thinks she treated Rory really badly, and it's like, but at the end of the day, she's not a perfect character. She's not a perfect person. There's gonna be flaws, and this is also realistically how relationships are, as bad as it is. So yeah, she's my favorite.
I think that's a brilliant answer. No, I like that. I like the different comparisons. How about you, David?
For me, I first off, I'm going to go, yes, Lou, I 100% agree with what you said there, because I can just see the reason why you'd want somebody to constantly ask everything and question everything, because I feel like
Yeah.
if I was a companion, that's what I'd do
Yeah.
personally. I'd be there like, bro, what the hell are you doing right now? Like, come on, this makes no sense. I'd have to have a little bit of a toss up for my favorite between Rose Tyler. I loved just some of the silliness she'd come out with between her and the Doctor. There was just so many odd moments that I just found myself giggling at, or there'd be comments said about her that just really gave me just laughs for a
I
good
literally
few
why?
minutes.
Because I do.
Obviously, I can't not skip Donna Noble. I
Oh,
love
yeah.
Donna because I just love their relationship between the companion and then the Doctor, plus their off-screen relationship.
Yes.
But who would be my number one companion?
20 years, one companion.
20 years, one companion. See, this is tough because I must admit I quite like Amy Pond as well. I really do like her. She's completely different to what I thought she was going to be as a companion when I first saw her. This is a tough one.
You don't have to pick which
Uh,
one. I'm not going to be mean.
I'm leaning towards Rose Tyler for me. Leaning towards because it gave me so much laughter, the
Mhm.
interactions and some of the stuff she would come out with. So I'm going to go with Rose Tyler for me.
No, that's
Yeah.
I agree.
James.
Two brilliant answers and a lot of brilliant companions mentioned there. If I had to, I agree. I couldn't just choose one companion. I think there's been so many good companions, and I agree with your reasons entirely.
Hmm.
I'd say Donna. I love Donna. I love her relationship with the Doctor. Again, off screen and on screen. I think David and Catherine have an absolutely amazing friendship, and that definitely shines through in the role. I think she was the right person to be the companion in the 60th. I like the way it brought the story because I felt like Donna's story, even though there was audio adventures, I don't think it ever brought it properly to a close because it's like, oh, what if? What's going to
What
happen?
if? Yeah.
Whereas with Martha and Rose, their stories have continued after they left in audio form.
Hmm.
I'm gonna say, apart from Donna and Amy as well, Amy is brilliant. I agree with you, Lou, completely. I like the way her and Rory called out the Doctor when they challenged it. I love the fact that we had the first husband-wife sort of TARDIS dynamic, although not initially with them just being engaged. And also the arc with the River Song, it brought something brand new to the show we'd never ever seen before. Um, I really have a soft spot for Bill as well. I think her
Yeah.
story was lovely, and I do hope
Definitely.
she comes back in the future because I think I would love to have seen a dynamic with
Yeah.
other monsters and things. Like she never properly really got to meet a Dalek. Like I'd love to see how she'd react against Daleks and Cybermen and being in proper universal peril.
Yeah.
I wish I'd
Ooh.
had time to connect with her as a queer person because,
Exactly.
like,
She did so
yeah,
much for the community, but
I
her time
know,
was
but
so short.
she was given such a short amount of time.
Yeah.
I would have loved to have seen her develop. And then I feel like maybe that would have encouraged me to come out sooner.
Oh, bless.
Exactly.
That's really sweet.
Yeah.
No, I agree with you. She made such a big impact, like with the community, like helping people sort of be in love with themselves and realize who they were. But it was so short, and it was just like, okay, you've done this big thing, but then you've sort of done it in such a small amount of time. Why? I would love to have seen her carry on with Jodie, for example, especially say like I would love them to continue like I mean, I realize saying this, I'm probably saying right out Yaz, but I don't want that because I like Yaz as well. But but yeah, there you go. Yaz, Bill, and the Doctor. I would have loved to see that dynamic. So brilliant answers there. Here's sort of a big answer, which I'm going to slightly change wording rise. What do you think of the Doctor's development from Christopher Eccleston joining back in 2005, right the way to how the Doctor as a character has developed to Ncuti Gatwa as the 15th Doctor?
You want me to go
Ooh.
first?
Ooh. Ooh.
Go on, Lou, you can
David,
go first.
can I go first? Um, just after watching the 60th anniversary, what I think is really, really a lovely full circle thing is the way Shooty's Doctor and 14 um yeah, Shooty really helped 14 forgive himself and let go of all of the trauma and just be like, take a break, do something for yourself for once, slow down. Um, because he's just constantly running and running and running and running, and like he's finally taken a moment to stop, take in all the scenery, take in his family, um, and just like do life instead of being uh essentially on fight or flight constantly.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So
Yes. No,
I
I
think
can
that's
fully
so
agree
good.
with that, actually.
Yeah, I think that's what that's what I think of the development. I think it's a really positive thing. And I think it kind of teaches a lot of the audience in real life to kind of forgive themselves as well. Um for all the bad things that they've done and show that we are not perfect, but we are well rounded.
That is a beautiful answer. I love that. I completely
Thank
agree
you.
with that too.
Yeah.
David,
I can add to that a little bit. I must admit, because I agree actually with everything Lou has said there. I don't think I would want to change what she said, because it's incredibly true, and the teachings that we have seen throughout the New Who era, I'd say each time we've seen a new Doctor, they've brought in new life lessons for kids and then adults alike to look and then learn from. Lou's was the perfect example. I can't give another better one, but it does show you of actually when you've got so much going on in your life, no matter what it is, that fight or flight response, there is always time for you to take moments for yourself and reflect on actually what is good, what is bad, and go, this is what I need more of and what I don't need of. So I can't add more to that, because you've summed it up brilliantly, literally apart from that little bit. So Lou, you've done a fantastic job there.
Thank you.
I completely agree. I mean, both of your answers were brilliant. Yeah, I can't say any more. Honestly, it was a beautiful answer, and I completely agree. I wouldn't change anything from.
What I think is nice is that it teaches kids about emotions as well. So then it prepares them for like real life, and I feel like it's gonna help the younger generation like avoid trauma and get themselves into healthy thought patterns as well.
Yes, I can agree with that. Yeah.
I agree, because it's I think the show has always played such an important role in everyone's development who watches it. I know it started out as a sci-fi show in a silly little blue box, well, not little blue box, but you know what I mean. But I think,
Oh yes,
especially in the new era, it's so important and does so many important themes, from obviously the first queer companion in Bill to the relationship between Yaz and the Doctor as well, sort of developing on that foundations. Um, to, like you said, like it shows that it's okay to just stop, have a rest, look after
Yeah.
yourself. It's okay to not keep going and rushing around feeling like that you're not worthy or not valid, because that's not true at all.
Because
it isn't. No.
because like even from Christopher Eccleston's era, he's been beating himself up for being in the Time War for so long, and then it's got to a really pivotal point with 15 where he's like, "Yeah, we experienced all that. How messed up is that?"
Yeah.
And just like actually acknowledging it instead of repressing it, which I think is really, really, really beneficial to teach kids and adults.
100%.
Yeah.
I
100%.
completely agree that that's such an important point, and well done for making that. That's really good. Sorry, that's not meant to sound condescending, but I am. I think that was a brilliant answer.
Thanks.
In the lifespan of New Who, we have had two major anniversaries of the show. Firstly, the 50th anniversary back in 2013. Yep, 2013, with the 10th Doctor, the War Doctor, and the 11th Doctor, and Clara and Unit, and the return of the Zygons as well. And also the 60th anniversary with the reintroduction of a familiar face in the form of the 14th Doctor as a new incarnation, and the surprise appearance by the 15th Doctor as Ncuti Gatwa. With the Meep, we had, I don't know what those weird things with long arms called, I'm so sorry, whoniverse, and also the Toy Maker as well. Do you have a particular anniversary that you prefer, and what are the reasons for this? David, I'll let you go first.
Yeah.
I'm going to be a bit controversial here, because I actually do not have a particular favorite. Both of the anniversaries for me hold very different meanings. Going back, yes, 2013 for the 50th anniversary, obviously we saw, John Hurt, Time War, we saw Matt Smith and then David Tennant both as the Doctors together. Then, yes, John Hurt makes his appearance as the War Doctor. That was something new to me at that time. I know it had been mentioned throughout David Tennant's part of this is what was happening. And for it to come to this little like full circle in that particular anniversary was not really actually something I was expecting at the time. I don't know whether that was just mainly because of my age, and perhaps I was a bit naive, but it brought a load of sort of new surprises and new apprehensions that I sort of went, ah, I'm a bit confused, but it did all make sense. I've rewatched it several times and I understand it more now as an adult, but I definitely didn't as a younger yeah, God, I'm sounding so old, as
No,
obviously
you're
a
not.
younger child then. But at the same time, the 60th anniversary surprise appearance, yes, with Ncuti Gatwa, we had Neil Patrick Harris as the toy maker. We had the Meep. We had all sorts of stuff, as James has mentioned there. That too was something also wasn't expecting that. I knew obviously David Tennant was only going to be back for this anniversary. I knew he was going to sadly leave us again. That ripped my heart out because I didn't
Okay.
like it the first time he left, and I definitely didn't like it when he left again. So yeah, I don't have a particular favorite of the two. They are both meaningful to me for very different reasons.
No, I like that answer. It's very good. I agree with you that I don't think they. I mean, I know I made the question, but I don't think you can compare the 50th anniversary to the 60th anniversary at all. I think they both work brilliantly. How about you, Lou?
I'm gonna completely oppose this. Uh,
Please do, please
I like
do,
the
100%.
I
Go,
like
Rose.
the 60th one better than the 50th one, and I don't hate the 50th one, but there are elements of it that I don't like. Um, so
Ooh.
I love the return of David Tennant and John Hurt. Like John Hurt was a really interesting Doctor to have um put in because there's so many different aspects to the Doctor's character throughout all three of them. I like how Billy Piper came back. It was a very nice nod. What I didn't like, and I don't know if I'm referencing this correctly, was the whole Clara being the Doctor's savior throughout all of his generations thing because
I mean, yeah,
he's
Yeah,
had more companions, and it's just like she's just taken on the kind of achievements and actions of all the other companions that have come before her, and I thought that was very unnecessary
yeah.
because like their other companions have saved him
Okay.
yes,
and
I
contributed
understand.
to
Yeah,
him growing as a character. And I just thought that little pinch of storyline wasn't great in my head. Um, the 60th, however, like I said earlier, I loved it so much. There was so much variety. Donna's story finally tied up the loose ends, and it was I cried like every episode because it was so
oh,
emotional and so
Yes,
lovely to see them
it
both
was.
back on screen with their amazing chemistry. So yeah, that's why I think the 60th is better than the 50th.
I can
Contrary to
completely actually understand that. I really can,
Now thinking
and
about it, same.
yeah, I know you said you wanted to really oppose it, but I can very much agree with you there. Actually, I really can.
as you can tell,
I
I'm
agree.
not a huge fan of Clara's character,
Nothing
but
wrong with that.
it was purely because of that storyline. Like if
Yeah.
that hadn't been put in there, I would have liked her more because then it wouldn't have pinpointed the Doctor's entire existence on her because I just don't think that's true.
Yeah, no, I get 100% what you mean there. Yes.
I agree with you. Not thinking about it. You're right. If you look at the clips, or if you look at the episodes that the clips were featured in the storyline between yeah in the 50th anniversary, that her going back through the Doctor's timeline, it doesn't work out because it is usually the companion of the time who has helped save the Doctor, whether it's Sarah Jane, Adric, or Ace, or any of them. Like,
It invalidates every
yeah,
other companion's
It does.
existence and actions, and like I don't know, it just kind of diminishes them. I don't like it.
no, I agree. I think it does diminish them. It diminishes the efforts they put and their journeys that they went on with the Doctor, and especially since, um, especially like the beginning bit with William Hartnell with the broken TARDIS in the workshop. Like, I know we've known stuff now, especially with the Timeless Child arc and things like that, but
Hmm.
Like it just doesn't. Why would the Doctor just listen to this random person?
Yes.
How does she know? How did she know which TARDIS he should have
Exactly.
chosen?
The broken
How
one.
did you know that? You know?
It's very true. No, you raise
It
some
is very
very
true.
important points. No, I completely agree with you. That no, I agree. I'm changing my answer. Let's go with the 60th.
I'm not anti-Clara,
No,
but I
you're not.
don't
No, no.
like her as much as the others. It's just that it rubs me up the wrong way.
No,
We can't be having that. We
No,
can't
no,
be
no,
having
not
that.
at all.
No.
So we've had many weird and wonderful aliens villains, particularly in the New Who era over the last 20 years. Do you have any favorite monsters and or villains, and why? I'm going to go with actually, who wants to go with this one? Leave it up to you. Lou, you go
Um,
first.
Can you count the one that scares you the most as your favorite one?
Of course you can. If it's your particular favorite one, yes, because it means it's a good villain if it scares
No,
you.
scare me to death. I don't like them. And I don't like the fact that I live around Cardiff and I see all of these statues and that's all it reminds me of. I don't ever want to go to a graveyard ever again. Stop it.
He's doing it again.
Just for context, David, like me and Lou like best friends, so it's fine. I'm not bullying her.
Oh, that's
Yeah,
fine. I can deal with that. Don't worry. As long as we don't get weeping angels back on the screen, I don't care.
I won't do it again, I promise. I'm not one for triggering people.
there are
Thank
other
God for that.
though. Like, oh, as soon as I said that, I couldn't think of anything else. Um, there's there's ones that make me laugh. And I've had some exposure to a couple of classic episodes, and I think there was one with John Pertwee or something that was kind of like a gargoyle.
Oh, I know which one you mean. Yeah.
Yeah, I used to call him Spooky Boy, and
Spooky boy.
and he he just used to make me laugh because he just looks so weird.
Yeah. Oh, I love
But
the
like,
classic monsters with their limited production values.
but like, I also love Sacha Dhawan's Master so much. He's an absolute psycho, and I respect the efforts, the lengths he went to put that across as an actor.
Completely agree with you there. Like, and I won't cover too, David, but yeah, just on the Weeping Angels, and I do apologize for keep putting it up. I won't do it anymore. But the Weeping Angels, I think there's something so relatable with them as a villain because they are in statue form. We see statues pretty much every day. Like they're just something very spooky about them and the fear of fear itself. I like the Weeping Angel storyline as well, like especially with them working for the division when Jodie's there. I thought that was really good. And the classic, you've got to laugh at the classic era. Like I love it. Without that, we wouldn't be here. But just some of the
Yeah.
monsters there are just hilarious. How
Also,
about you? Oh, go on.
sorry, I hate to interrupt you, but it's just the way they've evolved as well, and
Yeah.
the way that Jodie ended up turning into a weeping angel in her
Very
episode 2. That was such an interesting take on it. Yeah, carry on, David. Sorry, I was just wanting to
No, no,
add
it's fine.
I can forgive you 100%. Don't worry. It gave me time to sort out my answer, so do not worry.
Go on, David. What's your favorite alien or villain and why or monster?
I'd have to put. I'd say this particular villain very much rose to my favorite in the 60th anniversary, I must admit. And it's Neil Patrick Harris as the toy maker. I sort of saw him obviously come to that role, and I sort of went, I just really like him. It sounds really boring to say, but there was just something about him that I loved his moments on screen. I loved how he portrayed the character. I love how his
Yeah.
interactions, his little tandems of just off he went on a little speech. They were just brilliant. I kind of went, huh. I like this guy, and I've never been a fan of Neil Patrick Harris, but I liked
Fair
him
enough.
as the toy maker.
I think that
It's
brilliant.
funny because you're supposed to not like him, but he's so entertaining.
Charming.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Perhaps then for maybe going further back.
Yeah.
Obviously, I can't knock the Daleks. I really like the Daleks just
Same.
because they're such weird things that I just love the way they are. Obviously, yes, Weeping Angels. We won't go into that. That's a little bit. Maybe I'd have to pick. I'm going to butcher the name, but I can't remember what name of the episode it is now. But the guys in the suits with this then the bone mask. Is it Vatish Nerida
Oh, the
something?
Bashta Narada.
That's it. I can never pronounce their name.
The shadow spacesuit thingies.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, that's actually quite terrifying. Yeah, when you think about it.
When you sort of think of the suspense of how they do what they do, I sort of went, "Ooh, that's quite interesting." But I'd have to put them in there as well, actually.
Because they basically eat you alive.
Yeah.
Pretty much. It's just like, well, done.
Space piranhas.
Yeah.
But yeah, I always get the name wrong, but I'd have to put them up there as well.
Ooh, that's a really.
I wish I'd thought of that one actually, because that's even scarier than a statue because it's a literal shadow.
Nom, nom, nom.
Yeah, you can never see a dark space again and not worry that they're there.
Like the definition of monsters in the shadows.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah.
No, I think that's brilliant choices, David. Like, I agree with you. Thinking about it, like the Toymaker. I have seen some of the original Toymaker episode by William Hartnell, but I think Neil Patrick Harris, like that particular episode, I loved how sinister but also comedic he was, like with the Spice Girls sequence, like, and the American Beauty sequence in Unit was absolutely batshit crazy, and I
There
love
was
that.
literally like this weird switch he just had. He could go from being the deadliest, serious of man playing his games to literally just this. Let's have a little dance.
Yeah.
And you're just like, what? Hang on, where's
No one
this
was
come
expecting
from?
Spice Girls in a Doctor Who episode.
Yeah, I never thought that would ever happen, but here we are.
It worked. And I loved Maestro as well recently. I loved Maestro.
Maestro, I forgot about Maestro actually.
Maestro, I just thought was brilliant as well. Like the definition of weaponizing music and taking it away, like how much of an impact that would have on everybody's life if we had no music was just I thought was really spooky. And I liked Sutek. I love Sutek in Tom Baker's era, and I like Sutek as well, bringing him back in the modern era. I'd say for aliens, like more aliens, I love again Daleks and Cybermen. They'll always be up there. They're just sassy space villains, especially in the Battle of Canary Wharf. I love what else do I love? I suppose I again Sasha Dewan's Master, Mrs. Master, they were brilliant, and John Sim as well. John Sim, I forgot to mention John Sim earlier. Um, Aliens, the adipose, I loved how cute the adipose were, and Pating, how ridiculous Pating was, but I thought that was just brilliant.
I just want to go back on what you said about Maestro. As a musician, the way that they executed like the it was especially when she used I can't even think what it is, the metal thing to like completely isolate the sound was
Oh, the tuning
really
neat.
yeah, it was really unnerving because obviously as a musician you're so used to hearing sound and when it's completely cut off you kind of feel like you've lost senses and that's really odd and it was quite it had a really good attempt to scare you if that makes sense.
No, I agree completely. I think that was a brilliantly shot sequence, and yeah,
Yeah.
you're right. It's something unnerving about complete silence and just being left alone.
And like even when he was moving and stuff, and he was like Shruti was trying to like speak and things, like there was completely nothing. There was just absolute nothingness, and it's like she's just or they sorry they've just sucked the nothingness out of the world just for like a matter of minutes.
But it felt like an eternity.
I did.
No, I completely agree with that point about Maestro, especially that was a wonderful scene, and I hope Maestro comes back in the future. I'd like to see Maestro be a returning villain of sorts. I'd like eventually. I'd love to see like the whole pantheon of gods just versus the Doctor. I think that would be
Yeah.
an epic adventure. So, in the last decade, we've realised and were introduced that there are more Doctors rather than the 15 numbered Doctors that we've had on screen, starting with the War Doctor in the 50th anniversary, the Fugitive Doctor in the 13th Doctor's era, and the Timeless Child Doctors towards the end of the 13th Doctor's era as well. What do you think of the revelation that there are more regenerations than ever before? And also the way they were introduced, and particularly there seems to be more Doctors before William Hartnell's first Doctor.
I want to answer this first because I don't like to say this, but I've had when this started like coming about, I was in a relationship with someone who really, really didn't like this storyline.
Yeah.
And I'd had so many arguments with them about it, but I think it's a really fun idea. And also at the same time, the showmakers have enough liberty to do what they want with it. But I think it opens so many doors and it
Absolutely.
gives so many opportunities for different actors and different storylines and like also another variety of characters to play the Doctor and like you get to delve into who they are. And I thought that I can't even remember her name, but she's supposed to be, like the Doctor's mother.
Oh,
What's her name?
the Doctor's mother. Are you talking about
The
the one in?
in the Timeless Child
Oh,
story arc.
Tatian.
Tatian, yeah, that's it. I wouldn't have remembered that.
That's okay.
Yeah,
I must admit, I didn't.
like it was just really emotional seeing like Jodie Jodie start to realize who it was, and like
Yeah.
and then she's completely lost her identity and who she built herself to be and who she thought she was. I thought that was really heartbreaking. But I know that there are loads of people who don't agree with it because it's not canon. But I know it's been done before in not Colin Baker, Tom Baker's era.
Yeah. No, it has.
It has been done before,
Rain
so I
Morgan.
feel like it's really contradictory to be upset about that when it's been done before.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's my take on it. But
No, I agree with you. You are right completely. The Timeless Child art that's just continuing the story from over at that point 40 years, 50 years, like you said in Tom Baker's era. There has been scenes where it's hinted that the William Hartnell's Doctor wasn't the first, and I really liked it personally. And I agree, it gives more actors more opportunities. It gives more avenues, whether it's in Big Finish or on screen, to explore all these unknown eras of the Doctors. Like, there's a whole series recently, like a couple of weeks ago, released about the Fugitive Doctor with Big Finish and exploring Joe Martin's time with the Division, which is amazing.
Green more. I
Oh,
want her on screen more. So, like, I think her and Shooty will bounce off each other really
oh,
well.
absolutely. I agree. How about you and David? What do you think?
To be fair, I was sort of listening to both parts of you there, as in both parts of what you've just said, and I was really struggling to actually find anything to add to it because I can 100% agree with it. Just opens so many possibilities. It opens so many doors for people we have never seen either be a part of Doctor Who, whether it's the Doctor, whether it's a companion, a villain. There is just so much more that can be done with the option that this is there. And for me, it's kind of, if there are people out there who really want to limit a show's potential, you sort of go, why watch the show? And
Be true.
I can sort of go, if you're not willing to allow the writers, obviously the directors, then the actors themselves to purely take on these roles and make them the best that they can be, what is the point, really? It sounds a little harsh to sort of say this about a community. I don't really want to hone in that this is me being harsh. It's sort of me going, I don't understand sometimes some people's criticism. I will happily talk to anybody about a criticism they have for a show, 100%. But I know I will always go, well, you need to listen to mine. If you're not willing to accept this is how I feel about something, then you can't expect me to do the same for your opinion. So I'd say overall, I 100% agree. It's a brilliant thing. There's always possibilities out there. There is just sometimes so much conflict that comes with it that can really sort of dampen down
Yeah.
your spirits about a show. So
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like,
it's a bit of a hit and miss question for me, really.
yeah, it's kind of like people have said so much negative stuff about it. It's like, oh, I can't enjoy it now. I can't
Yeah.
enjoy the possibilities that could come from it. And that really, I was trying so hard to enjoy Jodie's era, but because of the people that I was associated with at the time that it aired, it's like really hard to do that because I was constantly fighting for her corner
Yeah.
against people who
Yeah.
were like,
Yeah.
would just shut it down completely.
Yeah,
Same.
I had exactly the same. Ironically for Jodie, and more recently now, I've got people talking to me about Shooties,
Yeah.
and how his suddenly have gone downhill, and I'm like,
No, it hasn't.
but
No,
how?
I
Like,
find
literally, how?
I find that it's because people don't like the actor as a person, and then they completely like it brainwashes their perspective on the character, the show,
Yeah,
the storyline, and then they're instantly set up to view it negatively and want everyone else to believe that.
Yeah.
I see exactly what you mean. Yes, I agree. I agree.
I'm the same. To me, I love the introduction that there are other doctors. I know for some people it might be hard to accept or hard to sort of get their heads around. But again, on your point, David, I think there's nothing wrong with criticism of a show, but it's got to be a two-way conversation and like listen to each other, and it should be done
Yeah,
in a way that's respectful to each other's opinions,
I
which I'm sure
I
you are,
couldn't think
David.
of
I'm not
any
saying.
other better way to word it.
Um, No, I completely agree. Like, I have listened to the Fugitive Doctor series on Big Finish, and it is brilliant because it's the not to spoil anything, I won't go into too much detail, but the first story of it's a three-part series, three-episode series,
Hmm.
to say, pits her against the Daleks, and I think that's a brilliant dynamic. Seeing Joe Martin's Doctor against the Daleks is amazing.
Yeah,
Or hearing rather, not seeing, but
Yeah.
yeah. Ooh, ooh.
but but they're both brilliant, brilliant answers. And we're going to sort of come out of the main universe for this next question, and we're still in it. But in the last 20 years, we have had an introduction of quite a few spin-off shows, starting with Torchwood after series two, then the Sarah Jane Adventures, those brilliant adventures on Bannerman Road, Class as well, which although short-lived has continued. I mean, same with Torchwood and Sarah Jane, all three of those have continued in Big Finish after not being on screen for a while. But also, I believe this year, possibly next year, we have a brand new spin-off with the War Between the Land and the Sea, with a unit-centric spin-off.
Oh, I
Ooh.
Do
haven't
you...
heard about this.
Oh,
I
spoilers.
think I, I think I, it's fine. I think I live under a rock, so.
No, no. So I'll just explain briefly then. The War Between the Land and the Sea, it's going to be unit centric.
Oh,
The
brilliant.
main unit cast is returning along with some
Oh,
recognizable faces that have been in Doctor Who and with
okay.
actually playing the same, if not different characters. I can't remember if they've confirmed it or not. But it's going to have the Silurians are going to be the main
Ooh,
possible villains of this
Oh,
series. Um,
okay.
um,
interesting.
but it's not going to have the Doctor in it insight, and it's going to be an Earth-based and climate-based to a point, I believe, spin-off series, which is either out this year or next year. I can't remember which.
Great. Okay.
Ooh, right, okay. Ooh.
But do you have a
Ooh.
favorite spin-off series? And do you think the spin-off shows work?
Um, Sarah Jane was my favorite. It was my favorite after school show that I would watch.
Yeah.
Same,
Uh,
same.
yeah. I think I was too young for Torchwood, and I feel like I never got into it
Yeah.
fully. Um, but yeah, Sarah Jane's my favorite. I never got to watch Class, but I was told not to watch it because it didn't hit very well. So, I don't know. I think they work. I think Sarah Jane works. But
Okay.
because I haven't seen that many of the other ones, I couldn't tell you.
No, that's understandable. Like Sarah Jane was just a brilliant, brilliant the Sarah Jane brilliant series. And they had it was sad the way it ended because
Yeah.
unfortunately. Elizabeth Sladen did pass away, and they had so much
So
plans,
unfortunate.
which was so emotional and sad. But I like the way that she's still out there somewhere. You know, the way they ended the show was just beautiful. And although they have over COVID, they did have a funeral for Sarah Jane. Like I don't know if you saw that on YouTube. They released a little minisode, which was lovely. But yeah, it was an amazing series, and I agree. Although I have seen Torchwood and Sarah Jane Adventures and Class, I think out of all three of them, Sarah Jane Adventures probably my favorite. Because it was just a beautiful series. It carried some elements of Doctor Who in it, but whilst remaining its own show. How about you, David?
I would too have to go with the Sarah Jane Adventures for the fact I too watched it after school. It was one of the very first things that I sort of would do when I got back from school at the time. I would say Torchwood. I watched a little bit of, but at that time,
Yeah,
I've grown to like him more. I wasn't a big fan of John Barrowman, must admit, was not a big fan at that point.
yeah,
Now later in life, I appreciate it more, but back then it was a kind of a bit of a no for me.
that's fair enough.
And yeah, unfortunately with Class, I think again I was kind of put off it a little bit by what people had said about it, and I kind of went, I've got other things to sort of watch with the Sarah Jane Adventures, other things. So I kind of went, perhaps I won't watch. So it was, I think, the first time I've really let other people's opinions really sway me on a program. So I'd have to go with the Sarah Jane Adventures purely as that was just one I constantly used to always watch, no matter what anybody said about it.
Yeah.
I think that's a brilliant answer and brilliant reads. And I did like Class. It only really got going in its final aired episode, if I'm honest. Um, they have continued it in audio form, which is good. However, I know Big Finish isn't affordable for quite a few people, which is it's a shame. I would love them to do a subscription like Audible because that would work really well. But it has continued, and they have continued with the original plans if they were going to get another series, which is quite nice. I know Ace appears in it, and the Daleks appear in it, with Class or in Big Finish, which is quite good. And I believe they do resolve the mysterious. Not to spoil anything, I do apologize if I'm spoiling anything, but there are weeping angels at the end of the series
No,
in a
no,
mysterious
no.
capacity. Sorry, I'm not trying to scare you. There are grey statues that are nameless with it.
There we go. That's much better.
Sorry, I generally, I'm not trying, I wasn't trying to scare anyone. But yeah, I agree. The Sarah Jane Adventures is my favorite spin-off. However, you never know. I mean, I think it will remain my favorite spin-off just because Elizabeth Sladen and the whole cast was brilliant. But I'm looking forward to the War Between the Land and the Sea. I think a spin-off with Bad Wolf producing it and Disney's money. Sorry, just to put
Yeah.
it's going to
So
be
just add in the money there.
exactly just put in with Disney's finance in the background and the fact it will make it the first spin-off show to be available worldwide. I think will bring a lot of new fans to the spin-off shows, and also its unit. I love Kate Lethbridge-Stewart, and I love the little team
Yes.
she's got together now. I think it's brilliant. I love Ruth Madeley as well. She's a brilliant actor. I've forgotten Shirley Ann Benham. I think it's going to be good. And I love the Slurins as well. They're a great villain that I don't think is used that often, but when they are, they're used really, really well.
I'm really confused by the fact that they're villains again because I thought it got to a point where the Doctor and the Silurians had like a positive working relationship, but obviously not.
I think I've made a mistake. I meant to say Sea Devils. That's what I meant, not Silurians.
Right, that changes things.
I do apologize. It is Sea Devils, just because they're
Tut,
cousins.
tut, tut there, James.
I know,
You
my
were
knowledge
starting
is
to
let me.
lose me a little bit. I was sort of going,
You're right. The
ah,
Silurians are more allies, but no, the Sea Devils.
yeah.
Doesn't add up.
Because Silurians don't live in the sea. Sea Devils do.
The Sea Devils do, yeah. What are you doing to us, man?
Just
Seriously.
completely spreading misinformation here. It's the Sea
Oh,
Devils versus unit.
there we go.
And
Sea
Humanic.
Devils. We've heard it here first.
We have
Should I edit these, isn't it?
maybe we'll give them Boing again.
Yep,
Yeah.
absolutely.
That was an interesting piece of CGI.
Yeah. That was brilliant. Oh, I know Doctor Who, really. My next question, I'm going to cut a couple of. What is your least favorite episode and why?
Uh, so the it's actually in Shooty Weaver, the one with the dot and bubble,
Oh, yeah.
because I understand that there was a strong message for it at the end, but the whole plot line itself, I watched it and I was like, what was the point in that? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
didn't see the point. I saw the point at the end, and I understood the anger and the fury that Shooty had because of the whole racism implications and
Yeah.
stuff. But the actual storyline itself was just so pointless. It just happened for the sake of happening.
No, I understand that.
I
I
do
get
too.
that 100%.
I didn't enjoy it at all in comparison to other episodes in that series.
I agree with you. I thought it was going to be a a sort of the evils technology episode. Then they brought in the um well, it sort of did touch on it a little bit, but then they brought in the weird slug monsters, which I've got nothing wrong with the slug monsters. If they gave me an episode about the slug monsters, I'd be all for that. I'd be
They
like,
did
Yep.
they didn't elaborate on anything about the
no.
slug monsters other than they take people, they eat people.
Yeah,
Why are they there? I don't
Yeah.
think we ever found out,
and how they
really.
colonized the stars apparently because they couldn't go back home, could they?
Yeah.
I completely agree. I think that is one of my least favorite episodes as well. Although I think the racism sort of implications and tones were important, I don't think that episode until the very, very end, I don't think it did it justice to a degree. Obviously, I am a white person. I'm probably not the best person to speak on this, but I don't think I think the tones are important, but I think it was just a mishmash episode that was there just as a filler episode, if I'm honest.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
can understand that.
How about you, David? What's your least favorite episode and why?
I am going to go on a bit of a rant here,
You
and
can. Honestly, I don't mind. It's not
for
rant, it's
me,
being passionate.
yeah, I was about to say, for me, I wouldn't say it's a rant, but it is a rant, and I have to give my least favorite to the Shakespeare Code episode,
Okay.
as this is going to annoy a lot of people because as an Inspire acting at the time, I should have been thing for Shakespeare. I should have really been in Shakespeare's corner, bigged it up, gone, this is really
Yeah.
brilliant. I hate him. I cannot stand anything to do with Shakespeare.
That's
I
okay.
have like this little burning ball of hate inside me for Shakespeare, which is really bad. I shouldn't let it
No.
be as bad as it is. And many people go, well, how can you be an actor if you don't know anything about Shakespeare? And I go, I was forced to learn Shakespeare in school.
Yeah.
Nowadays, any
Yeah.
program about mentioning Shakespeare annoys me. And the fact that there was this whole episode based on it,
Yeah.
it's one episode I admit I'd happily, if I was doing a rerun, I would skip. And I never would think I'd say that about a Doctor Who episode, but I would skip this one because it's
Yeah.
just, to me, it's so pointless. I don't see the point of why they've got it. I don't understand what the Doctor's got to do with it. I don't really get the characters in it.
Yeah.
The
Is this
storyline, just no.
Are you on about the one with the carrier notes?
Yeah.
Yes.
See, I thought that would have been absolutely fine without the Shakespeare in it. And also I agree with you, he's just like I'm a former English student, so like I also
Yeah.
got to do a lot of Shakespeare. But I didn't like the way I know it's probably very relevant to the time, but the way that he spoke to Martha,
It was awful.
what a dick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He was awful.
Absolutely awful. I just went, this is an episode I could have happily gone without. There obviously, I'm not going to take away anybody who says they really like this episode.
No.
I'm not going to disagree with them. I get people have their opinions. For me, though, it's a big no, unfortunately. So I'm sorry to everyone out there, but that's a big no. Shakespeare Code, my least favorite episode by far.
That's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. Like if we all like the same thing, it would be boring. But the points you raised were valid. If they just had the Karenites on their own and like that would be good. Like there's nothing even in the same time period, I'd agree that would still work. But I thought
Yeah,
Shakespeare was Shakespeare was alive in this time. We'll just add
let's
him in
do
there.
something to it.
Exactly. They should have done a whole episode with Shakespeare there of some sort, but not with the Karenites. I think that would might work better. Again, I completely agree. Not everybody's a fan of Shakespeare, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with that at
Mm.
all. But yeah, no, I completely see your reasons.
Are you going to have a problem if I run to the toilet again?
No, I can pause the recording.
Thank you. I really need to.
Let me pause. So, music is a very crucial part of the whoniverse, way back since the beginning in 1963, especially in the New Who era with composers like Murray Gold, for example. We've had some amazing soundtracks and compo oh, I don't know how to speak music. We've had some amazing soundtracks and songs composed as part of the New Who era, and especially throughout the New Who era, we've had the Doctor Who proms, which saw a brilliant return in 2024. Do you have a favourite song from the Doctor Who or from Doctor Who or the wider Whoniverse? Lou, you can go first on this one.
I don't know names of
That's okay.
songs, but I can just refer to things. I really enjoyed Eleven's theme.
Yeah.
I also really enjoyed. It's in David Tennant's era, the one with all of the bass when like Rose is walking away, fading between one universe to another.
Yeah, I know which
Oh
one.
God, I know exactly the one you're on about.
Wouldn't know the name at all, but I can just refer. When I
don't know
say the
some
one
names.
with a lot of bass, I feel like everyone
Yes.
knows what I mean.
I do know the one you mean, but the name does immediately skip me.
Yeah.
Oh,
And also just the song that Ruby Sunday does when she's like trapped in the musical stems. Like, I thought that was beautiful, and I thought that was really well placed in there. It wasn't forced. It was really good. And obviously the theme song, because it's a classic and everyone just knows it straight away.
I can 100% agree with that. Very much so.
I agree that you've named my favorite song, like the one with Rose going to the universe, is the theme song. Obviously, the best sound in the universe. I liked in 11th era, the song. I can't remember the name. The song where they sing to the alive planet, where they say "Wake up."
Yes.
That one.
Yes.
I can't remember the names of songs. Sorry to anyone who does know the names of songs.
Yeah, people who know music, we are so sorry. We are doing terrible at names of songs here, but we are so sorry.
Is it something of Akaten or
Yeah, the Rings of Akaten, that one.
Rings of Akaten, that's it.
Yeah, that episode. I love that as well. What about you, David? What music or songs do you like from the Whoniverse?
For me, obviously, you can never ever skip the themes for any of the Doctors. That is just, it holds so much of. That's it. I'm sitting down in the living room. I'm watching my favorite show come on. It's just, I can't ever skip that. If I listen to it, I have to listen to it all the way through, no matter whether it's Christopher Eccleston, David Tennant, Matt Smith, Peter Capaldi, Jodie Whittaker, obviously David Tennant again, or then Ncuti. I realised that was the fastest I've ever reeled off all the Doctors of this Hugh era. I've never done it that quick before. But do I have a particularly outstanding favourite song?
There's always a twist in the air.
Well, here is the twist: is I actually don't know whether I do. I have some I always really enjoy, but I wouldn't listen to them outside of regular watching. Like I have a whole Spotify playlist purely based off of TV shows.
Yeah,
and
love that. Brilliant.
I sort of would. I'd listen to it from time to time, but I wouldn't say I'd pick out one to constantly listen to.
That's understandable. I agree. I think there's so many brilliant songs, but yeah, I mean, I have a Doctor Who's, but if I'm feeling down, I do listen to my playlist of Doctor Who. I'm not gonna lie.
It's just nice to have a playlist suddenly around your programs.
No, I agree. It's a brilliant idea, and I think yeah, there's been some amazing songs and amazing composers and singers. I mean, I forgot to mention. I know I briefly mentioned it, but in Shooters there's always a twist in the end. I love that song so much. It's just
That was a good song, actually. Yeah.
And the fact they're bringing her back for series 2 as well, that they recently revealed, is amazing.
The Goblin song. Oh my
Oh,
god.
of course, Janice Goblin.
So I realized that the singer of the Goblin song is like a big emo, and that makes me really happy.
Oh,
and so now I
God.
follow her on TikTok, and she
Oh, wow.
does like covers of all my favorite songs, and I'm like, I love you.
I
love
come
you,
here.
Goblins.
I love you.
Yeah.
Of course, how
She's
can we
so
forget about the
good.
Goblin song? It's been a brilliant
You were
musical.
obsessed with the Goblin song for a really long time. Like we
really
would
was.
talk about it all the time.
We
Yeah.
really would, and I was wishing it was so close to Christmas #1 of that year as well. Honestly, it was so.
It was quite ridiculous how close it was, actually. Yeah.
I loved it. I hope a Doctor Who song does become #1 at some point.
Oh, please! I would love that. Actually, that would like make a year for me if it did.
Same. Let Doctor Who have its turn in the charts.
Yeah, please.
So we're gonna look to the future now. It sounds like a Christmas song, I'm not gonna lie. But we're gonna look to the future now, specifically the 12th of April, as it has been revealed yesterday or today, actually, at the time of recording this podcast. What are your predictions for series 2 of Shooter's 15th Doctor? And who is Mrs. Flood?
Mm.
Who'd like
We've
to go
discussed
first?
this at length, but I can't remember anything we said.
We'd all like a lot of things that aren't going to happen. I love that line so much.
She's curious, isn't she? No, I'm gone. I'm blank. We've discussed it at length, but I can't remember what we said.
I can't remember either. I'm so sorry. I do listen and pay attention, but my mind's gone blank.
This is not good.
Go on, David. You take the lead.
I'll take the lead on this one. So, series 2 of Shooty. This could be an interesting one. Obviously, yes, at the time of recording this, there's been, for those who don't know, hashtag maybe spoiler alert, that it's all a bit up in the air at the moment. The Grey, we've had problems coming out in the news that, yeah, Shooty's got issues with the fan base, and obviously that might affect what we perhaps see going forward. But
Yeah.
I'm really hoping we still touch on many of what we've seen of Shooty's performance in obviously series 1 for him. Of he's very outgoing, he's very bold, he's very energetic. There's this whole new level of the Doctor that I would have said we've not seen for a little while, because obviously Peter Gowasher is a very flamboyant actor, and given his age also, he's a lot more ability to do perhaps other things people of older generations might not be able to do. So I'd like to see a carry on of what I've seen so far of Shooty in season 1, but at the same time, I'd like to see him wise up a little bit. I think he needs to learn a few things for himself and go, hang on, take that step back. A bit like 60th anniversary, David Tennant stepping back, Shooty helping him out do that, as Lou said earlier on in the podcast. I think Shooty needs to do a little bit of that for himself. So I'm kind of hoping we get maybe an episode or 2 where we perhaps see a very, very different side to the Doctor of Ncuti Gatwa's performance. It's very perhaps mellow, it's quite calm, it's a lot more surreal rather than everything sort of, wow, oh, check this out.
You say that. He spent a lot of downtime in the Christmas episode, because he spent, God knows,
this is true,
a year at that hotel.
Yeah, he did.
I love that episode.
And perhaps that's where I want it to continue a bit more,
Yeah.
if that makes sense. I'd like to continuation of that, of going, we've seen some of it, but we need perhaps a little bit more. Obviously, this is in my opinion. Everyone is welcome to go, what are you talking about? I will happily listen to them. As for, I've forgotten what the second part of that question was. Oh, Mrs. Flood. Who is Mrs. Flood? Mrs. Flood is a bit of an interesting one for me, because at the moment I am very unsure of how important her character is going to become. I know there's going to be a lot based around her, but it leaves me in a very much a sort of, I've got a grey cloud. I know you can't see it, but it's about here.
Yeah.
And a lot of questions are asked about this Mrs. Flood. What is she doing? What are her intentions? Excuse me there. And I'd like to hope perhaps it's even going on to a role model or a role figure for Companion or Doctor himself. But I just don't know. I really don't know. There are so many questions that I'm left with that I sort of have to go. I have to answer the question, but with more questions, which I realise does not help anybody.
See, with the wrap up of Ruby Sunday, before we found out that she was just a human, I thought that she was gonna be some kind of alien, and then Mrs. Flood was like connected to that.
Yeah.
But obviously that has been shut down.
Yeah, that's
Not
kind of.
So now I'm at a loss. I don't know.
Yeah.
No, I completely agree with you. It's a very big mystery, and also I just want to give full credit to Anita Dobson. She is playing that part absolutely brilliantly. And yeah, but I agree with you. I thought she was going to be linked to Ruby in some way, and it's like, oh, you're just a human. Oh, you have a human mother. Which, okay, fair enough. I'm not discrediting the writers for that, but I thought it was going to be a much bigger mystery than it was, and a bigger reveal at the end.
Yeah, no, I agree.
Who do I think Mrs. Flood is? I know who would like her to be. I'd like her to be the Rani, which we haven't seen in years and years, but I believe there is some copyright issues with the rights to the character. Which it would be nice to see another classic villain come in.
I don't know who the Rani is. You need to explain who she is to me.
No problem. So for those who don't know who the Rani is another evil. Well, she was the first Time Lady introduced on the show.
Okay.
She is a villain. In the classic era, she was played by Kate Umar. She's slightly, I'd say she's more sinister than the Master. She's definitely more evil than the Master as well. Disregarding the Children Need EastEnders Doctor Who crossover episode they did in 1993, but yeah, she's definitely an evil Time Lady. But the actor sadly passed away, and I don't believe their family ever gave the rights to Doctor Who.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I'm pretty sure of that, actually.
Yeah. So that's why we've never seen or had the Rani mentioned at all in the modern era. But I'd like her to be the Rani. But then also, she's taken on, her appearances are very much companion coded. So she's someone who knows who the companions are. Like, she's dressed up as Ramona from the classic era. She's dressed up as Clara in a Clara outfit as well. Like, and she's a time traveler. Well, from the series 2 time traveler. Like, the series 2 trailer, you can, like, obviously back in the classic cinema scene, like the 1920, it looks like they're in the 1920s, 1930s. I know we're going to get the payoff at the end, but I like it. I just hope they do her justice and Denise Dobson justice, because I just love how crazy she is. And
yes, I can agree with you there, James. 100%. Do her some justice, please.
Yeah. I'm just enjoying it. I love the fact that, I don't know if you two watched the Doctor Who proms, but Mrs. Flood made an appearance.
I did.
Oh, no, I didn't. I missed
I wanted to actually be there. I wanted to go.
Me
too. Really
too.
did want to go to that. I just couldn't, sadly, but I really wanted to.
I hope they continue the Doctor Who proms, just in the continuation of the music questions. Like,
yeah.
I so hope so as well, because that means actually I will get a chance and I will go because I'd love to do that. I'd go probably dressed like this.
Oh,
Funnily
I
enough.
would as a Doctor cosplay,
Yeah.
absolutely. Maybe as my Ood. I'll go as an Ood to the prom. My Ood cosplay to the prom. I
Your
like.
Ood cosplay is
That'd be
great.
quite
I
cool.
love that.
It's my favorite, one of my favorite cosplays I've done. I just, oh, I should have bought that to Magna. Maybe if my Spider-Man costume don't bring, I'll bring my Ood.
Yeah.
I mean,
You're,
I'm going as the Doctor to Magnus, so that could be interesting.
that's what I'm thinking. Oh, I might have to do a last minute plan. Anyway, getting on a tangent. Sorry. That I needed a backup Doctor Who cosplay, and I think backup dot
I
cosplay.
think you found it.
I think
See,
I
doing
have.
this podcast has helped.
You're all giving me inspiration. Thank you. So my last
Woohoo!
question is, we're at the end now, but the last question is describe, no, it's going to be a three-part question. So why is Doctor Who important to you? And describe Doctor Who to someone who's never seen it. And lastly, what's your favorite quote from the Doctor? I'm happy for anyone to take this first.
Sure, go first.
I was actually going to let the host go first. Because we haven't
Yeah.
Oh,
done that.
okay.
We haven't done that all episode.
Oh,
I'd
I
like
like
to see
that.
the host go first.
I've got to think of my question. I've only written two, but okay. So, okay. So, what does Doctor Who mean to me? I'm happy to go first. So, for those that don't know, like I have autism. I've had it since at birth. I struggle socially. Doctor Who has, especially growing up and through school, has been a form of escapism for me. It allows me to just not think about real life and just enjoy going on these magical adventures with these different companions and these different actors playing the Doctor to all these amazing, wonderful worlds. And it really it inspired me to start writing. It's why I wanted to work in TV and why I did work in TV for a few years. It yeah, it's just wonderful, brilliant happiness. It's sad at times, but I think there's not many shows that have been going for as long as Doctor Who. Like in the UK, I can only think of two other shows, which are Blue Peter and Coronation Street, that have gone on longer. And obviously they're not sci-fi shows, but it's just something uniquely British, but also I love the whimsy, I love the energy. I just think it's so varied, and there's attempts have been made by other countries, other production companies to make a TV show like Doctor Who, but they'll never be able to capture its beautiful magnificence. That's the first part. I suppose I slightly did touch on describe Doctor Who to someone who's never seen it. It's this show. I mean, I'm going to quote directly from the show. It's about this madman in a box, who likes to help people and save lives, but also provide and show the best in his companions. Um, what's my favorite quote? This is a terrible, terrible question that I wrote because it's a very difficult one. I think I can't. I'm going to have to Google this bit, but I know what it is. It
Ooh.
I know I'm cheating by going on Google, but
Ta-ta-ta. No, we'll let you off because there are so many great quotes
I'm
throughout
gonna also do the
the
same.
Whoniverse.
you can
There are
Google
so
it.
many.
I
I'm gonna
agree.
do, I'm gonna do the same because I've forgotten.
That's it. My favorite quote has to be the 11th Doctor's final speech before he regenerates, where we all change when you think about it. We're all different all through our lives, and that's okay. That's good. You've got to keep moving as long as you remember all the people that you used to be. I'll not forget one line of this. Not one day, I swear. And I'll always remember when the Doctor was me.
Oh, that's a really nice quote to have, actually.
Yeah.
Who wants to go first with their favorite
You,
quote? What Doctor Who meets to them?
you go
And
next because my computer's crashed.
go on, David.
I shall go in that case. So, I have to remember now the parts of the question because to which bit do I want to answer of it first?
You can go any first. I don't mind. It doesn't have to be in the same order.
Oh, that's all right then. So for me, it holds. I think I've already touched on it previously in the podcast, to be really honest. So I'm going to sort of re-quote that of just it holds earliest memories of what I wanted to be as an adult. When I was a kid, I wanted to be an inspiring actor. I wanted to be on TV. I wanted to be on stuff where I could literally be going on adventures of whatever I wanted with people that are like-minded to myself. It it was kind of I'd say a lot of comfort as well.
Yeah.
I too struggled with making friends early in school because I liked various different things to what people used to in my schools. It was, oh, you're a bit different. I was picked on for it, and the fact that I could watch this, yeah, crazy man in a box, as James well put it, go madly into the universe and cross over for various different bits was very much also a form of escapism for me. I've also done the same thing. I've kind of touched on it of how to describe it. It's literally a very old Time Lord in a blue phone box that's bigger on the inside than it is on the outside. It can take you to anywhere in the known or unknown universe, and you get to see the adventures, range of emotions of what happens to that individual and his closest or her closest friends. And it's a massive story that is just at the moment never ending. There are so many open doors of where the storylines can go, where the plots can take us, the characters it can introduce. It is just endless. And to be perfectly honest, this does lead to my quote very nicely, which is, it's wibbly wobbly, timey wimey stuff, because it is. And of course, that is a David Tennant quote, as my favourite Doctor. Yeah, wibbly wobbly, timey wimey stuff. That is my favourite quote.
Oh, that's really brilliant. I
Fair.
love that quote. I love the reasons why Doctor Who is important to you, and I love your description as well. That's fantastic. How about you, Lou?
I found my quote now. Doctor Who is important to me. It got me through a lot of rough stuff over childhood. It helped me accept the fact that I'm really weird, especially Matt Smith. And then
Wonderfully
seeing
written.
other doctors that came after him, like Peter Capaldi being grumpy as hell, but also him being a softie in the end. It is a comfort. It's one of my comfort shows for sure. Um, and it's been with me ever since. And yeah, it's just made me feel less alone with being who I am. How would I describe Doctor Who? Um, it's just a weird guy that picks up loads of friends and just goes traveling all the time. And you get to see all sorts of stuff, and he goes on loads of adventures, and he learns a bunch of stuff, or they learns about a bunch of stuff about themselves, which you can apply to daily life. My favorite quote is the one from Vincent and the Doctor, when Amy's really sad about the fact that Vincent ended up dying in the end. It's the way I see it. Every life is a pile of good things and bad things. The good things don't always soften the bad things, but vice versa. The bad things don't always spoil the good things and make them unimportant. And I can relate to that in where I'm at in life right now. So it comforts me. Yeah.
Oh, what a beautiful episode and a beautiful,
Mm.
beautiful quote. How could I forget? I didn't forget about it, just wasn't in my head at the time. But no, that is an absolutely beautiful way to end the episode. Darcy.
I'm gonna sort of quickly interlude here because
I'm joking, go
um,
ahead.
I've just sort of realised something that actually I sort of missed um, with my quote that actually means more to me than
Go on.
wibbly wobbly timey wimey, because it very much touches on, I think, all of the three of us as individuals, and it is another Tennant quote, so apologies to anybody else.
Never do take
um, but the quote goes, if I'm saying this right, some people live more in 20 years than others do in 80. It's not the time that matters, it's the person.
Yes.
And I can't believe I forgot about that one at first, because I think I have quoted that when people ask me for advice sometimes. I don't know why. And I'd say that is one I link to quite a bit because it is actually, it doesn't matter the amount of time you live on this earth. It actually matters who you are as a person, as an individual. That is what defines your life. And there is nothing that anybody else can do to change that. It is you. And I can't let this podcast go without putting that in there, which is you are who you are. Please do never change for anybody. And
Aw.
no matter how much you live in your life, just remember how awesome it was because you made it awesome.
We're all so soppy. I love it.
Sop is the best way to be.
It is the best way to be. So apologies, James, for cutting
Oh,
you
no,
off
no,
there.
no. That was more than what that anyone can interrupt you. I just talk things. No, what now? That is a beautiful way to end from both of you. But unfortunately, that time has come to the end. Like, I really don't want to go, but I just want to say thank you so much to Lou and David for coming onto the podcast. I did purposely sit that in there. Where where can they find you online if they want to follow you and learn more about your wonderful selves?
Yeah, I'm just gonna. I mean, I'm not very active on there, but I'm gonna drop my cosplay Instagram. It's at Pond Life Cosplay. But yeah, I don't predominantly use it, but I'm there. You can see what I've done before. Yeah.
Thank you. And how about you, David?
I'd say, I mean, my name is the same for everything. It's the Hypermonkey 30. I'm probably most prominent on Instagram. If people want to like get in touch or talk to me about anything, I'd say that's the one I most use. But I am also on TikTok. I do have connected pages on like Facebook and stuff like that. The only one I don't use is whatever the new Twitter name is, X, because I never understood it when it changed. So I'd say, yeah, Hypermonkey30. Find me on Instagram or TikTok. I'll be there somewhere.
I'm also on TikTok as at Lil Lou, but it's got a 1 for the I and a 0 for the O. So yeah.
That's good.
Thank you
That's good to
so
know.
much. But
You have
according
some
to the
followers.
sun on my face, I am close to regenerating, apparently. But
You really don't want to go.
No,
He's regenerating already.
I just want to say thank you both so much for coming onto the podcast. I've had a brilliant time recording this. Thank you to all of you watching and listening wherever you are in the world. I'm just going to do a little plug, but if you do want to listen to my other podcasts, please search either Beyond Disabilities, Cosplay a World Beyond, Beyond the Tardis, and now Beyond Body Positivity, and soon a brand new member of the family will be coming later this year. If you do want to learn more about the new project that myself and my wonderful friend Ginger has going on, please follow Cosmos of Positivity, which recently changed its name today from Cosmos of Cosplays, or Beyond Disabilities Official on either TikTok, Blue Sky, or Instagram. Instagram, I'm probably the most active on there. Beyond Disabilities does return on the 1st of March with the Beyond Body Positivity special episode, which I'm excited for because it's a brilliant episode, but there's also a second part of that coming later this year. Doctor Who, I've had to change the script today, but Doctor Who does return on Saturday, 12th of April in the UK and across the world on Disney Plus because that recently got released either today or I think it was last night.
I think it was last night.
Yeah.
Thank you for telling me this. I have no idea. So I'm
You're welcome. It's literally breaking news. I had to rewrite the script this morning.
Breaking news on this
on the
podcast because I had no idea. As I said, I live under a rock.
No, it's okay. Honestly, I didn't know till I saw Facebook or Instagram this morning. But that does leave me with one final thing to say, or maybe two. Firstly, there is always a twist in the end. I am going to be planning to bring at a Comic Con in the UK at some point Beyond the TARDIS to a panel. Hopefully, I'm going to try and head for MCM in November. If they like it, that is down to them. And one final thing to say, Allons-y whoniverse.